Good afternoon and welcome to the October 28th, 2025 Public Works Committee meeting. Now is time for a roll call and determination of quorum.
Meyer. Here. Pettigrew.
Here.
Roberts.
Here.
Maher.
Here.
Bieberdorf.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. Now is time for the adoption of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Now is time for general public comment. This is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. I don't have anything in front of me. I don't have anybody jumping up and down. So I will close general public comment. We will move to consent items. Items 1 through 10. I don't have any or open public comment for consent items 1 through 10. I don't have anything in front of me. Again, I don't see anybody jumping up and down, so I will close public comment. We'll move on to items 1 through 10 on the consent calendar. If I have anyone on the council that would like to pull anything or anybody from staff, let me know. Otherwise, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve items 1 through 10 and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Now we'll move on to non-consent items. Item 11, I will open public comment and I will close public comment, and we'll move on to the one item 11, and it's a presentation number, and it's also in our minutes wrong. It says a resolution, but it's a presentation. Presentation number 2025-125, a resolution amending solid waste division fees to be charged starting January 1st, 2026 for various services. Go ahead, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, committee. The point of today's presentation is to provide an updated cost of service analysis that was completed for our solid waste division, and then to present to the committee 4 different scenarios. We are asking the committee to make a recommendation to the council on Monday for one of the 4 scenarios. We do have a prepared resolution that would be implementing scenario number 2, which is the staff's recommended proposal to you, but of course you can make whatever recommendation to the council you would prefer. So essentially our cost of rate service here, just to remind the public as well as the council, back in 2021, there were new rates that were established by the council. However, when those rates were established, the council number 1 used the most constrained price increase that was included in the recommendation, but also from 2021 to 2024, our sanitation department faced some of the most significant inflationary cost increases of any of our divisions. And so with that, we really have been struggling in our sanitation department for more than a year and a half. So since 2024, we have been reassessing our cost of service. We have been looking for solutions, but ultimately, even after we go through those solutions, there needs to be some either changes in service delivery or some changes in our costs that we pass on to our customers. For example, when we look at our staffing, we had anticipated in 2021 that we would have a wage increase of approximately 19% over that time frame from 21 to 24. In actuality, it was a 58% increase. Just to understand why that was so significant, if individuals would remember about 3.5 years ago, I think, at that point, we almost had no one left working in our sanitation department. And that's just because regionally, there were very high price increases for individuals who had CDLs, and every contractor working throughout the Black Hills was essentially picking off our employees. And so in order to ensure that we actually had employees, we had to do an across-the-board $5 per hour increase so that we could actually maintain employees and be able to provide the service. And then with that, our healthcare increased at a rate of 62%. The reason for that is as we hired on all sorts of new employees, a lot of them were younger employees that opted for family plans, and they were replacing a lot of employees that were single plans. And so that's a more expensive plan coverage for us as a city. But also, really one of the most staggering price increases was the increase in the construction of Cell 15. That was anticipated in 21 to cost $6 million. Instead, that ended up costing $11 million. Again, there were inflationary increases in all capital improvement projects across the board for the city, but in particular, the areas that were the most impacted was earth moving, of which that's the vast majority of the construction of that cell. And so we had a very substantial increase in that cost of construction. So in 2026, in order to balance the budget so that we could continue, we did include the interdepartmental charge. That was an increase of $820,000 for sanitation. And the council is well aware of the process that went through for those interdepartmental charges. In order to balance the budget, we had to cut equipment by $1.1 million. Honestly, that's not sustainable long term. Our equipment needs exceed that, and we do go through to try to be as prudent as possible and be good stewards of the ratepayers' money. But in the end, we do not have enough funds in our equipment budget to really make things work. And capital, we did completely erase our capital budget in sanitation. We have been looking at operational efficiencies. Equipment procurement has, we have, when feasible, we are looking at used equipment. Frankly, when we see equipment that's at a good deal that has low hours on it, we do end up purchasing it used versus new. That's a substantial savings for the cost or for the ratepayer. In addition, several projects, CIP projects, we have been self-performing. That has been a substantial savings compared to contracting out every single capital project at our landfill. We are also looking at additional revenue streams. Colorado Energy Recyclers, that's the tires that we're looking at exploring a lease with them, as well as sales of that resource to them. Black Hills Energy is the renewable natural gas that we are in discussions with and should have that brought before the council hopefully within the next several months. And then Mountain West, that's a firm in Piedmont that we are selling a lot of our tree grindings to. And so those are new revenue streams that are coming into our landfill enterprise fund. In addition, we partnered with Ignite to reduce our labor costs, but ultimately, and we've changed some of our collection routes to ensure that we are making the best use of our fuel as possible. But even with those measures, there still needs to be further adjustments. So looking at our cost of services, we did look at the impacts of cost escalations and also possible changes that we could make to our services to help stabilize what the actual rate impacts would end up being. And then we developed 4 different scenarios that we're presenting to you. These are the 4 different scenarios. Scenario 1 is essentially to continue operations as they are. Scenario 2 is to constrain our CPI growth. That will be challenging, but we believe we can do that. So we will not have as much money for capital as what we anticipate. So we will just work very diligently to self-perform things, but eventually we do need to have $3 million annually in our CIP budget. Transition our free dumping with utility bills to 6 times a year instead of 12. Recycling every 2 weeks instead of every week, the recycling pickup. and then to have a subscription-based curbside waste model at $10 a month. By doing that, that's going to greatly reduce our labor costs by about a third, and also it will bring in some additional revenue. That's not enough revenue to truly offset that service, but it at least helps contribute towards that cost. Scenario 3 is to constrain the CIP again, eliminate the free dumping, eliminate the recycling, right?
Keep with recycling
Every 2 weeks, okay. Eliminate the curbside waste program entirely and to close the 2 remote drop-off sites. The cost of those remote drop-off sites is actually very high, and we'll go into that. And then scenario 4 would be to, again, constrain the CIP, eliminate all the free dumping with the utility bill, and that means no vouchers, to eliminate the recycling collection services, to eliminate the yard waste collection and composting programming, eliminate the household hazardous waste program that we do every other year. Residential garbage collection would be transferred to a private hauler service, and then the city would only provide the landfill disposal services under that scenario. So with that, I'll turn it over to Luke here, and he has a greater in-depth discussion of those 4 scenarios.
Thanks, Daniel. Luke Rodig with Burns & McDonnell. This next chart here really provides the story behind the scenarios that we're going to look at for rate adjustments. So just wanted to touch on this in a little bit of detail. The dark blue bars are shown as total net revenue on an annual basis for the solid waste division. The lighter blue bars are the reserve fund balance for the solid waste division. And then the green line represents the target fund reserve balance that's set by the city's financial policies for utility rates. So as you can see from 2024 and 2025, there's been significant negative net revenue. And a lot of that's due to capital projects and equipment getting deferred from previous years based on all those escalations of costs. So those projects in 2022 and 2023 have landed now in 24 and 2025 and have started to really deplete the reserve fund balance. So going forward, the goal of the scenarios that we're discussing is to rebuild the reserve fund balance to that target minimum level by the end of 2030. We originally looked at doing this by 2028, but just to spread out the rate increases for each scenario to be a little more acceptable for residents and customers, we've pushed that to 2030 to meet that target reserve fund balance. A couple things to note here. 2026 shows a higher positive net revenue. Most of that is due to the budget cuts that Daniel outlined regarding equipment and the CIP getting eliminated for the next year. And as he noted, that's really not sustainable going forward. So we do see that positive net revenue spike in 2026, but then going forward, it's a pretty stable net revenue just building up the reserve fund balance. Couple other notes on this slide. There's quite a few large capital improvement projects coming up in the next 5 years for the solid waste division. The next ones are relocating the compost facility, planned for 2026 to 2027. So that'll be a significant debt service project that'll have annual payments going forward. There's also Cell 19, which is the future landfill disposal cell that will need to be constructed in 2029 timeframe. So that's another large capital project. Daniel mentioned Cell 15 was over $11 million and a very high increase in that cost. So we're anticipating a pretty large capital spend for Cell 19 going forward. So that'll be another debt service project that'll either be a low interest loan or bonded project in 2029. And then a large project is planned for the material recovery facility. So that building's almost 30 years old. All of the equipment in that building is original for the most part. Electrical controls, sorting equipment, all of that needs a major upgrade for that recycling facility to continue operation. So another large project planned for 2030 right now in the cost of service. So just wanted to outline that to kind of paint the picture of these rate scenarios. All right, this table shows the rate adjustments required for scenario 1. So that would be no changes to services or operations, strictly just updating rates to account for all the costs and revenue requirements to continue operations. I'll highlight that this table shows 26 through 28 rates, and those are going to be focused for the rate resolution. We've projected estimate rates for 29 and 2030, but those would not be included in the rate resolution. But we do show that we're establishing rates and going beyond 2028. We hope to get to a point of just inflationary increases with the solid waste rates going forward after the initial reset here in 26 and 27, which is a lot more significant. So this increase for residential collection rates is the top row. So we're proposing for scenario 1, a $9.50 per month increase on collection rates. In 27, $8, and in 2028, $7. On the landfill tipping rate, we're proposing a $3 increase in 2026, $2 in 2027, and $1 in 2028. We will have a summary table in a couple of slides that shows each scenario together for the proposed rates, so I'll keep moving forward. This is for scenario 2, and that's where there's rate increases proposed, as well as constraining CIP and those changes in services that Daniel had outlined. We have still an increase of $7.50 for residential collection services in 2026, $7 in 2027, and then $5.50 in 2028. The landfill rates are the same proposed adjustments as the previous scenario. Scenario 3 is the most, changes to services while still maintaining, options for recycling and yard waste services. So the rates for scenario 3 are $4 for residential collection in 2026, $3 in 27, and $3 in 2028. So those increases per month align with the scenario 3 option. And again, the landfill rates on this option are slightly lower, so it's $2 in 2026, and then $2 in 27, and $1 in 2028. Now, just to summarize the differences between scenarios 1 and scenarios 2 and 3, we've itemized some of those key changes in the annual cost of those services just for visibility and kind of transparency of how the changes in rates are associated with those changes in services. So the top row shows going from 12 free dumps a year to 6 free dumps, which is scenario 2. And then eliminating free dumping altogether would be the $799,000 savings on that cost of service. Going from recycling collection every week to every other week would be a savings of $131,000. And then the curbside yard waste collection program, as it currently sits, is over $324,000 annually, with a very low participation percentage So the number of households that are actually collecting yard waste from are less than 5%. Compared, so there's 22,000 households that collection department picks up from. They have to go to each household on every week for curbside yard waste and see if containers are put out. And typically they only pick up 5% of the households, but they still have to complete that full route. And the last item there is the remote drop-off sites. The cost of service for those is outlined as $309,000. So here's the summary table outlining the collection rates and comparing them between the different scenarios we outlined. So scenario 1, you can see the rates from 2025, the current rates, to 2028, as would be proposed in the rate resolution. And scenario 2 and 3 all together. So really tried to provide options that, provide options for rates to be stabilized with scenarios 2 and 3, so there's not as big of an impact to customers, while still providing, full services through the solid waste division. Scenario 4, as Daniel outlined, is a major change for the whole program. Going away with the recycling program, going away with the yard waste program. There's, a lot of considerations to be done with that scenario still. Regulatory wise, there's a ban on yard waste being disposed in the landfill. So there would need to be an alternative for diverting yard waste, and the city would need to find an entity to take that over. For the recycling program, there is a comprehensive source reduction and recycling plan that's required for their solid waste permit. And so a change to that plan would mean a permit modification, and the state may have some pushback on that issue. And then looking at the collection side, we've had a couple of benchmark data points for the private haulers in and around the Rapid City city limits. Currently, for garbage collection service only, the private hauler rates are around $52 a month, which are already higher than the city collection rates, which offer more services to the customers, including residential recycling collection, as well as yard waste collection options. So that's the summary of collection rates here. And then further, just some benchmarks of collection rates in the region. Rapid City is shown as kind of the second lowest service for these benchmark communities, going all the way down to Sioux Falls as the highest collection rate currently for 2025. We've outlined the services that are associated with these benchmark rates, and I would note that Rapid City does provide a higher level of service with the current rates than some of the other benchmarks cities. And then local rate options, we kind of highlighted it 2 slides ago. Rapid City's current rate, and then compared to a private hauler rate, is shown just for reference there.
So for the next steps, we do have prepared for you a resolution that would implement scenario 2 if the council wishes to proceed with that. If the council wants to proceed with any of the other scenarios, you would need to let us know, and then we could prepare a new resolution that would accomplish whichever scenario you are looking to implement. We would ask that the rates would be effective January 1st. That's so that we can start making our financial projections that we had included. And then this is also being presented to Legal and Finance so that all 10 council members have this in-depth discussion on this before the council makes a final choice on Monday night. Are there any questions?
Go ahead. Kevin, you're first in the queue.
My question is, if, I guess it has to do with the private haulers, because I see them in town, in residential areas, and I don't know what causes that versus the city picking it up. My question is then, because their garbage is being picked up by Kiefer or some other organization, but then they're most likely taking their yard waste over to the drop sites.
Yeah, absolutely. In general, private haulers do the commercial areas in town. However, there are some residential accounts. Usually it's the larger residential accounts. So when it's an apartment complex or some of the mobile home parks, different areas like that are being done by the outside private haulers. That longer term is an issue, I think, that there probably should be some discussion about, because when you look at the wear and tear on the roads, there are areas of town where we end up having 2 or 3 garbage trucks going over the same road in a week, which is not ideal.
One other question, and that is, I know Spearfish said they don't pick up yard waste. What do people do with it, I guess?
They haul it to Belle Fourche. So same with the recycling too.
Okay, thank you.
Like people haul it to us.
Or, yeah.
Go ahead, Rod, you have the floor.
Thank you, John. So I got a lot of questions for you. I've heard from several council people that it's really the county's responsibility to provide the waste fill. Is that correct?
Yes. Statutorily, the county is responsible to provide landfill services. However, historically, Rapid City has done that for a 5-county region, approximately.
How long?
Since 1960?
Since 1960.
Well, is there an avenue to where we can't negotiate with the county if they're not providing this service? They're certainly using our services. Can't we approach the county? They've just cut $400,000 from our library budget, that maybe they should step up and participate in the cost of funding the landfill. And I guess to be hard-nosed about it, if they don't want to do that, then I've been told you got to give them 10 years notice. Let's give them the notice and they can provide these services. I mean, really, they're taking advantage of us in this situation, and we should be partners in this because we all create garbage and we all need a landfill. So I would suggest we start a discussion with them on how do we work together to get some revenue from them to help offset these costs. I understand the ban on yard waste, but you know, I drive around town a lot. Even at my office, we got 2 gigantic commercial things there. There's yard waste in that, and they just put it in the dump truck with everything else. Does that just end up in the landfill? Probably.
Yes. That is an item that when we discussed at our council study session a couple weeks ago, we do anticipate at your next council meeting, but after that, bringing forward to the council authorization. It would be an ordinance amendment so that we would be able to do commercial collection services of recycling, as well potentially of yard waste as well, because there are commercial entities, not as a requirement, but there are commercial entities that would like to take part in those programs. But right now, our ordinance prohibits us from being able to do that.
Okay. Just be patient with me here. A couple other comments. The comment on wear and tear on roads with commercial haulers, yeah, I get that, but we got 3 trucks going by my house every week, you know, hauling this stuff. So I don't think there'd be a significant amount of additional wear and tear on the roads because we're running 3 trucks up my street every week now. I believe if we're providing a higher level of service, which your records indicate, we got to pay for it. I don't want to pay any more than anyone else for anything, but if we are providing a higher level of service and costs are going up, we'll get all the calls. People are going to be upset, but I'm an advocate if we're providing a higher level of service and costs are going up, that has to be paid for by a rate increase. Do we get any federal dollars on our recycling program? Do the feds subsidize that at all?
We've received a couple grants, haven't we, in the past?
Grants when they're available.
Do you want to, it'd be good for you to speak.
Grants are getting really hard to come by. I mean, we put in
Yeah.
for grants every day. We just don't receive much of them.
Well, I understand why we promote recycling. I think we're using the wrong word for that, because as you guys know, we don't recycle glass. It's just ground up and put in the landfill. I don't know if we recycle plastic much anymore. Maybe we do, collect it. I don't know, do we save that much space by grinding up that stuff? Really? Do we need the recycling program? It's all going in the landfill anyways. It sounds good, makes us look good, but we're down to dollars and cents here.
We divert a lot. A lot of the recyclables is called diversion. We recycle it, but it's diverting it from the cells for the airspace.
Would there be a regulatory impact if we didn't do the
Yes.
recycling? You should.
It's in our permit that we do have to divert that recycling from the pit.
And my last comment here, sorry for asking so many questions. We got our new water bill the other day. I never look at our bills, my wife does, and she handed it to me. She says, "What's this?" And I guess it's a new system for whatever reason. I'm not criticizing it, but now I've never used the service to haul garbage out to the landfill. If I got garbage, I take it to my store and use our big dumpster. But again, if people are going to use that service, I don't think it should be free. That's a service they're using, and they should pay for that. And these coupons, I just think we've added an extra hiccup for people to use that service. I don't know why we still couldn't use our new water bill and take that out there. I guess they stamp it or something to prove that they've used it. But I think if we're going to continue that service, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I don't understand everything, I think, and maybe the intent is to make it difficult for them to use the service. I just think we're adding a hiccup for them to use that by having these coupons. And what's the cost? I suppose you mail these coupons back and forth. John made a good comment. I got a bunch of rentals, so I'll just collect all the coupons myself, and maybe I can sell them and make some extra cash. I don't know, but I just think that system, maybe I don't know everything, is going to create a very cumbersome way for our citizens to use that service.
There was a lot of discussion about how to best try to implement that service. Western Mailers, who previously had been, or actually they are still doing, our mailing of the bills, the previous machine that they used was no longer going to be able to be supported, and so we weren't able to continue using that, and we were the only entity or the only customer of Western Mailers that used that particular machine. So if we were going to continue to have that same bill type, we would have had to pay the cost of that machine, which was several hundreds of thousands of dollars. So in order to do it cost effectively, we had to change to a regular 8.5 by 11 invoice that we would mail out to everyone. And so the concern is that if we would mail that out to everyone, there would be individuals in town who would be able to take that bill and run photocopies of it and then just go to the landfill every day, in which there are people who currently are doing that. They pick up the bills from everyone in their cul-de-sac or whatever else, or all their rentals, and do that. And so having the coupons is not the best system, but it's the only way that we could really find that would be a unique identifier that would not be easily replicatable for someone to be able to. But no, it without a doubt is more challenging.
You done?
Yes.
Go ahead, Callie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For biweekly recycling, do we think, like, is that okay? Like, do people like every week, is it overflowing? I guess I'm just curious. I mean, personally, still have one of the smaller recycling cans, and I feel like, one, there's probably an educational component. I think a lot of people probably recycle a lot of things that shouldn't go in there. This is my sustainability degree coming out. You can only recycle certain types of plastics and things. And so I feel like education of what can go in there would probably be helpful, of like, you don't need to fill it up every week. And then two, if there's an opportunity to educate folks, like, hey, if you have a small can, get a bigger can. Asking for myself, where can I get a bigger can? But I think if like bigger can in education, I think the biweekly would probably be fine. I don't know. I just want to do a gut check. I have a second question after this on if we feel as recycling's overflowing or not.
That's a great question. On the biweekly pickup for recycling, I will say that that's very standard practice across, the region and country as a whole. So a lot of the benchmark communities are already on biweekly recycling, and Jeff can talk a little more about this, but the set out rate for recycling cans has also been low, similar to the yard waste pickup. And so that's where the, impact to customers should be pretty minimal with that change to go bi-weekly, just because there is a lower set out rate every week on those cans. So, but Jeff, I guess turn it over to
By
you.
going every other week, we do not, the cans are not overflowing.
Okay.
It'd make more sense, more feasible, that every other week to be picking them up.
That makes sense. I mean, I personally was surprised it was every week when I got my house, but okay, thank you for that. And then my second question, for the $10 a month yard waste opt-in, would that need to be all 12 months of the year? Is it just the months that it's operational, or do we just spread it out
It would
over the full
be
year?
for 6 months,
6
just
months.
like the
Okay.
sites.
And then would you need all 5%? Like, are you assuming that the 5% that are currently using it would opt in, and that covers or offsets the cost enough?
The revenue for the $10 a month, what's modeled in the cost of service model is a very low percent. It's lower than that 5%, just because the revenue from the rate is really not the driver of this. It's the cost savings for collection, to know what households they're going to pick up the containers. And so there's more of a cost savings measure with that change versus really the rate revenue associated with
sense.
it.
Additionally, I think it's important to note that it would actually be different by having these totes now, because right now we do have several staff members who are driving along, picking up, the brown waste bags, putting it in, and so there's going to be a reduction in our labor costs because it can truly be automated now through that. Also, for the customer, they're not going to have to buy those bags anymore. And so when I've explained it to people, I've kind of been surprised. A lot of people have said $10 a month is less than I spend right now in the brown bags. So it's actually saving me money.
That makes sense. I think my last question is, I think I lost it. You were very convincing just then.
Sorry.
$10 a month. Oh, opt-in. Would it be pretty easy to opt into that? Or like if I wanted to, I get a notice and I have to do that, or what's the process? Do I have to fill something out, or can I just click something on the website? Or
Yeah, the plan, we don't have this fully set up yet, but the intention would be that it would be an opt-in service that they would be able to sign in on the website for that, or they could also call in the call center and just note that they would like to begin opting into the program.
okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I had a few comments too. I hope it's easier than getting the coupons. So, my wife went and did that a week or two ago, and she was very frustrated. It took her about an hour and a half before she figured out how to get through every level of everything and get it done. So, that being said, I want to go back to the yard waste opt-in. I mean, right now it's being done, with your garbage pickup. If you've got something there, they just call in and come pick it up. I don't know how it's done. I use it, but I don't know. We put it out and then it's gone.
Yeah.
We don't pay much attention to when it's picked up or when it's not picked up.
There is no cost with it. Residents put them out on the side of the curb, and it does get picked up. It's not necessarily on the same day. And so that becomes the issue, is that they're driving around on the exact routes to try to see is someone actually opting in versus being able to know, you know, these 4 homes on this cul-de-sac and this entire street, no one's opting in. And so it would reduce our time to complete that, as well as the fuel consumption and also our
So
labor costs.
why don't we just have one specific day a month that you do it? And I'm just ballparking things, you know, that could be done out there, so you know when you're going to pick it up or when you're not going to pick it up, but you're not running around trying to find where all of these are at certain times to come pick them up. I'm just curious. Because I know this is going to be a big bone of contention, especially in my ward. A lot of people use it.
Well, when we run our garbage routes, we run a yard waste pickup route the same day, same part of town and all that. And like they were saying earlier, we still have to drive all the streets because we don't know who's setting out and who ain't.
Yeah, but if you had one certain day a month out of those 6 months, and that was the only day that you would pick it up, and people knew that,
I
then
don't
they
know.
would come and pick it
Yeah.
up.
We'd have to look into that. I don't know if we could keep up with just one day. We might
Well,
have
maybe
to
you
have
could do
3
it.
days.
Maybe you
Yeah.
could do it 3 or 4 days, and
Yeah.
you could do it by neighborhood. You know, I mean, it would be very easy to figure that out and set it up. I'm just, like I said, I'm just spitballing some things out here. Go ahead.
After talking with some of the staff members who do that, one of the concerns that I've heard quite frequently is that a lot of individuals will fill up the bags and then set them out on the curbs, or if it's not quite
And
their
they get
time,
wet, and then they fall through
get-
the bottom.
Yeah, and so I think that would be a concern, that if everyone's kind of loading it up and their day isn't for 2 or 3 weeks, even if they successfully transport it to the curb,
Mm-hmm.
there's a high likelihood that when the city crews come by, the bottom might fall out and it
Well, I'm
becomes
just,
a mess.
I'm concerned that, we're going to have 3% of the customers that opt into this. Okay, they're going to be paying $10 a month for 6 months, which is $60. But this whole program's going to cost, $250,000, and we're going to be losing $100,000 a month from it. I think there's a way we can do this where it breaks even, or we make some money, or whatever on it. I just don't think that you're looking at all the options. I also know with recycling, I think we should have went to 2 weeks a long time ago. But one other thing is, my wife and I, we recycled for a long time. We don't do it anymore because I'm tired of the snotty garbage collectors. Every time my can is 3.5 feet instead of 4 feet away, and they put a snotty note on it and don't pick it up. So I just figured you guys can go through it yourselves. I recycled for 40 years. You know what? If it's too difficult for you to do, whatever. But I know I'm not the only person. I know there's a ton of them in my neighborhood that stopped recycling. And I'm curious about how many people actually do recycle in Rapid. And have those numbers went down over time? Have they went up over time?
From a overall tonnage by year standpoint, it's been pretty consistent. So it hasn't gone up necessarily, even though population has gone up.
Yes.
And waste generation has gone up slightly. The recycling tonnage has been pretty steady. So it's around 5,000 tons per year for cardboard, plastic, a number of other materials that are included for the recycling facility and diverted. So those materials are diverted and separated, and then they're baled, and they track markets for the materials, and then they transport, and there's some revenue coming in by selling of those materials once they are sorted.
Okay. Oh, and to make it clear, I do recycle my cardboard and my plastic. I just hold it in my garage until the waste site's open and take it myself. But, I'm concerned, I'm not only concerned about the rate increase, and I've got a lot over the last few years because of the increases in the water and the sewer, and now we're adding another 20+% increase to the garbage, to the landfill, and I get it. I mean, costs are going up. Everybody's costs going up. There's nothing we can do about that. But I think that we need to look at efficiencies more. I think we need to dig into that. And I also think that this panel shouldn't be the one that's recommending the resolution. I think all the resolutions should go to the city council, and the city council should have the discussion at that level instead of just us. But that's just my opinion. You guys have the right to do whatever you want to do. So, anyway, thank you. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just had one more thought. I don't know, like something I'd be interested in is like doing away with like the free dumping. In Watertown, like when I was growing up, you had like one like free dump week. You put stuff in your yard, and then the city like came around, and also the people also came around and took trash too, which was interesting. But I don't know if that would be any sort of cost saving, but I think it would be interesting to, I mean, maybe you have done a cost on it, but I think having the opportunity to just put your stuff in your yard once a year and have the city come pick it up would be an interesting offset for the free dumping. So that's all. Thank you.
That the city I was previously at, we did the same thing. We had 2 weeks a year that we would have the spring and fall cleanup that we called it. And so anything you brought out to the curb, we'd come by and haul it all away. I will say that we used our entire sanitation, our water crew, our wastewater crew, and our streets crew to complete that. And it was usually about a week and a half to complete that. And so it was a substantial investment of resources, but it was a great service. I mean, residents loved it, and you could see sometimes the piles of stuff was bigger than the house, and you kind of wondered how that quite worked. But so it's a possibility, but it's going to be a cost.
Go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
I just want to make a comment on the free dumping. I think it's very effective because I use it more than 6 times a year. But when you go to the dump to go to the wall and dump your stuff, you're taking garbage out of your garbage can. Basically, you're minimizing or you're lowering the task for the garbage service to pick it up. But I'm afraid if you eliminate that free service, first of all, you're going to have congestion out there because you're going to make everybody weigh when they're leaving. And right now, if you have the water bill, you don't have to weigh your vehicle when you leave. But I'm afraid it's going to put a big strain on businesses because people are going to take their garbage and dump them in, behind businesses every night or every once a week because they can't go to the dump. So I think we should try to maintain that free dumping. Add something to the bill, I'll pay that. But I just like the fact you can go in and get out and you don't have to weigh coming out. So thank you.
Thank you, and I could go on free dumping all day long, but I've got to leave because here in a second I've got a meeting with a client. So, recommendation? We have a motion to acknowledge without a recommendation.
Second.
And a second? All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Look for a motion to adjourn. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.